This is KHJ-TV, Channel 9, your RKO General Station in Los Angeles.
Engineers, this is Engineer Bill saying welcome to the Channel 9 Roundhouse.
Hi, I'm Johnny K, and welcome to I Remember Radio, a creation of Mike Coonert and Billy Smith, a series of episodes to honor the people and places that provided some of our country's finest broadcasts. And while today's honoree, Bill Stulla, is probably best known as TV's Cartoon Express host, Bill also enjoyed quite a career in radio, as well as KHJ TV here in LA. And to discuss both careers, we have three terrific guests. First, and in no particular order, is Craig Powers. He's the former program director of KFXM Radio in San Bernardino, as well as PD of KEZY Anaheim and Kick FM. He's currently the vice president of publishing and promotion for Curb Word Entertainment. Welcome, Craig.
Hey, Johnny, thank you. Good to see you all.
Second up, we have Daniel Brown. He's a Southern California native who was raised in Whittier and Long Beach. Daniel enjoyed a 45-year career in the media industry, including 25 years as staff photographer for Modern Maturity and AARP magazine. Daniel currently operates Zebra Radio in San Simeon, California, which can be heard at 1610 AM and as well as on cable. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
And our special guest today, and one that I'm really excited about having on this episode of the program, is Katheryn Stella Mackinson, a woman who is not only the daughter of Bill and Ruth Stulla and a very important contributor to the success of Cartoon Express, but also a broadcaster herself, as she once was an air talent at WNBC in New York. She's now retired, and we're so happy to have her with us today. Welcome, Katheryn Mackinson.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted that you're honoring my dad, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you today.
Well, he was a wonderful man, and we all appreciate him so much. We can't say enough good things about him. Hopefully, within this episode, we'll reveal to our viewers a few things that they didn't know about Engineer Bill. He was born in New York, right, Katheryn?
He was. He was born in New York City in 1911, and lived there a couple of years. He and the family moved around quite a bit. His father was a printer for Hungarian newspapers. So they would go around to various Hungarian communities and provide those services there.
Daniel, how did you discover Bill Stulla?
Well, I really didn't know him until KHJ's show, Engineer Bill, until his TV show. But, that's kind of how I discovered him. And like I said, I was into model trains. So I had kind of an affinity for the show from that aspect of it as well. But that's where it started for me.
And Craig, you're a train aficionado yourself.
Yeah, Engineer Bill is responsible for my love of trains and my love of milk. Two things that he brought me that I still love today and collect today. And boy, I just couldn't wait to watch the show every time it came on.
There was a special segment during the Cartoon Express program called Red Light, Green Light. And Katheryn, you and your mom had a lot to do with that. Can you tell us that story?
I certainly will. I ended up being the little engineer that came on the program that introduced the red light, green light game with my dad. I was 6 years old. I have a picture of Dad and me. You might be able to see me over there in my little Engineer Bill's outfit with my dad. It was a game that my mother thought of because when I was in nursery school, the little kids in the nursery playground, they would say, you got to pick up your toys. So green light, let's go pick up the toys. And so all the little kids would run around, and then they'd say, red light, you can stop picking up the toys. So Mom said, why don't we change that? Because I drank milk at home and they played red light, green light with me before it was ever introduced in the program. And this is the famous Engineer Bill glass that I remember from, it says copyright 1958. And I only have one, and this is it. And I'm really proud to have that, because this was very important to my dad's program and kids drinking their milk. And on the back of it, it says, it depends on where your milk went, how much you drank during the time. But it says you're either a Gandy dancer, a section boss, a brakeman, a fireman. And then if you get all the way down to the bottom, it's engineer. So, and I know that on the program, they had a lot of fun, making sure Dad, made mistakes playing red light, green light, the people that would call it.
We have a wonderful clip of your father sharing the story of how you came on the program and began red light, green light.
I went home and I asked my wife how the show was going, and she said, Bill, it's real nice. She said, but you've got to there's something missing. She said, you've got to have some way that kids can participate. And that's when she said, why don't you take Kathy down? I'll get her a uniform.
Get her little
And
engineer's
you
outfit.
teach the kids how to play red light, green light, like we do at home.
Because we did play it.
Oh my God.
That's good. Yeah, absolutely. We played it.
So we did that, and we got the red light, green light game going. And I knew that it was going to work because I felt good about it.
Engineer Bill began on December 13th, 1954 and continued for 12 years through July 1966. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And I always think of it as it's sort of 1955 because it was December to 1966. But yes, and during that time, my goodness, Dad had a lot of fans, you all among them. What a wonderful thrill for somebody, because we're all contemporaries, I can tell, that to have you still remember my dad, who was my dad. I mean, he was my dad. He was also Engineer Bill, but to have you have such good memories of him and such respect for him really makes me feel so wonderful.
Your dad tells a great story of how he actually got the management of KHJ TV to go with an engineer theme instead of a ranger theme. We have that clip right now as well.
One day I'm walking into the studio, and there are other strange guys about my age walking out, and others walking in. And I asked somebody who worked there what was going on. And whoever it was said, the station has bought some cartoons, and they're auditioning for a Ranger Ed. Boy, I'll tell you, when she said the station bought cartoons, everything fell in place in my head. And I went to see John Reynolds and Howard Wheeler. I remember their names. Good. And I said, I understand you bought some cartoons. And they said, yeah. Howard Wheeler looked at me and he said, oh no. He said, you look like hell as a Ranger Ed. I said, Ranger Ed? I said, is that what this audition is all about? He said, yeah. I said, a stupid imitation of Sheriff John? I said, it'll last a month. I said, I've got a hell of an idea, and cartoons are the things that we're missing. I want to do a railroad show. I want to be an engineer. And they canceled the auditions. And they said, I got some trains at home. He had a couple of Lionel trains, and Howard Wheeler had some trains at home. So we started the little square table with the train layout on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll show you what we started with. He canceled the auditions on the Ranger Ed thing, which was the smartest thing he'd done all the time I was there.
Daniel, what did you love most about the program?
Well, I enjoyed, as you said, because of I had my own, fascination with the model trains. I had both a Lionel and Markland train set, which was two different gauges, but I was fascinated by that. And of course, I just love the show. It's really one of the things about Engineer Bill is one of the only shows really on TV at that time where the kids were actual participants in the show. You know, they were either audience in some shows or they didn't exist at all. But with Engineer Bill, the kids were an integral part of the show. And that's what I thought, one of the things that made it so special.
My dad loved kids and he respected them, and he didn't try to turn them into little adults. He just let them be who they were in the moment. And he loved working with kids. It was just, and that takes a very special skill, I think.
He had the undivided attention of children throughout Southern California and their loyalty too. Craig, what was it that about Bill Stulla that came across that camera and made you a fan?
Well, I think he was a genuine person, and kids, as you know, are the first to pick up on who's genuine and who isn't. And you could tell that he loved trains and he loved kids and he loved doing the show. And I couldn't wait to watch it, to see what was going to happen, to see if I knew the kids that were going to be on the show, to see the great trains running around. I just had a little plastic train with plastic track at the time because I was a little younger. But I love watching the trains. And like I said earlier, my favorite is the red light, green light, gave me my love of milk. And the other thing I love too is the show was live. So there were a lot of mistakes on the show. And I always enjoyed seeing those mistakes too. Like when they would throw off the mailbag and he would catch the mailbag. Sometimes he wouldn't catch the mailbag. It would go, he would go chasing after the mailbag. And it was always fun to watch.
Well, according to Bill, when we interviewed him, he was 91 years old the last time I got to see him. The crew who threw the mailbag toward him would try to knock him off the chair. Is that a true story, Katheryn?
I think it is. Not every crew member, but a few of them did.
We had the mailbag, and the crew would say, "Here comes a mail train," and the train would go by, and then they'd throw the bag at me, trying to knock me off the chair.
That was
Sometimes
So
they
that was it.
came close too, didn't they?
That
It's
was
like,
funny.
And here comes Casey. Now, easy does it. Steady. Steady. Everything's going to be all right. All right, Case. Wave goodbye now, will you, please? No wonder that Fuzzy Bavasi didn't send me my contract this year. Yes, sirree.
I remember one night also when Dad had this Little Mo, the bad habit buster train that used to chug its way up a hill. And then on the last day of the week on a Friday, the bad habit, whatever it was, would fall into the trash can.
Tonight, boys and girls, we're going to try to tackle another bad habit. You know, there's a whole carload of these bad habit bandits. Some of us have a lot of them. Some of us don't have too many of them. But if any of us have even one of them, that's too much. Now, I just want to tell you that you can get rid of those bad habits, even though it is an uphill fight. It's a real uphill push, but with lots of steam and effort, just like Little Mo, the bad habit buster, puts into it, why, we can dump that bad habit train right over the trestle. And do you know the one that we're going to try to dump over the trestle tonight? He's called the Appetite Bandit. And his name is Slim, I can't read that. What is that? Slim what? Slim McNibble, yeah. He is the vegetable house at his plate. And he gets behind you and he says, "Oh, don't taste that, don't taste that, don't taste that." And pretty soon you haven't had any dinner at all, and about 9 o'clock you're hungry, and then you go eat something that isn't too good for you. So this week, will you do this with me? Boy, I'm going to ask an awful lot of you tonight. An awful lot of you. I'm going to ask you to say, I promise that all this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I will eat anything that is on my plate, and I will clean it up. Will you promise? All right. Remember now, you promised. Here goes Little Mo, the bad habit buster, with the first try at pushing Slim McNibble. Come on, Mo.
Into the trash can, into the trash can. I hope again, 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 I hope again. It's tough work, but if I stick it out, I'll break the bad habit. The bad habit. The bad habit. I hope again, I hope again, I hope again, I hope again,
This is not going to be easy. Promise again. All this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I will eat anything that is on my plate, and I will get rid of that Appetite Bandit. It's going to be a tough one, Cork. And you help too, Susan, all right?
Well, there was a time little Mo was crawling up that hill, and it missed the trash can. So, so the poor bad habit just was in smithereens on the floor. But, that was live television. And yes, yeah. So it was a lot of fun. It really was. And I think everybody who worked on the show, the tech crew, the directors, everybody enjoyed the experience.
Well, your father has been written up. I did some research, and people have written about his warmth and his bond with children, and they've likened him to an icon in our country in the world of children's television programming. Fred Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood on PBS. And I think that's a real testament to his talent.
Oh, it truly is. I think Daddy was 10 years before Mr. Rogers, or maybe 15 years before Mr. Rogers came out. But the same ideas, let's teach kids values. Let's teach them to be kind to their brothers and sisters and polite to their parents, but not take away the essence of who they are as people. And he felt that so strongly, and it used to please him no end. And Johnny, you know that because you've met my dad many times, how thrilled he was when he would meet fans who had grown up to be pretty special people in their own right. He was so proud of that. It was like, well, my goodness, I raised him too. He loved that.
Now, Craig, you never got to be on the program. Is that correct?
No, I wasn't.
But Daniel, you made it on.
Yes,
And in your father shot some 8mm film, we call it behind the scenes, of the program itself being broadcast live.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's the only film I think that exists of Bill Stella doing his Engineer Bill character.
I kind of figured it was. That's why I made sure it got scanned and then got on, well, in this case was on YouTube. My dad asked Bill if he could shoot home movies of the show. And Bill was very gracious. He says, yes, just stay behind the cameras. You can shoot anything you want. And so that's what he did. And that's what you see there on the footage. So that was October, midweek of October, first week in October, 1961. We went down to KHJ, which next door to was Desilu, and also Paramount Pictures, which was kind of a thrill. We took kind of a walking tour. We got there early. So we took kind of a walking tour of the area. So we saw all those things. And then, of course, there's a Today shot of the studio, which, of course, KHJ is long gone now, but the studio is still standing. Here is the actual sound stage where the show originated. One of the things that struck me about this show, how I first walked in the door, was how beautiful the set was. Because I thought the set was going to be in grayscale, like the cameras. But here it was beautiful. I remember thinking to myself, boy, it's too bad this show isn't in color because this set is great. Bill was very, very gracious. You'll see some shots where he is talking to the kids and was very easy around kids, and he was easy to talk to. You'll see me asking him some stupid question, and he's very gracious about answering it. Here he is showing how the contest board works. And I never did fully understand that, but it was okay. He was doing all the calls, so it didn't matter. Here he is putting a kind of a horse leg lav mic on me, which, not like today's mics, big. But anyway, so I'm asking him about the show, and he says, no, stay in your seat, or something like that. I don't know what he was saying, but it was a lot of fun. And of course, they were having some problems with one of the trains at the time. You'll see them lifting the set up. I guess they were doing that where they had a short on one of the tracks. But now here we are on the air. The segments were not that long. They were maybe 30 seconds, maybe less. Occasionally there was just a live break, and then they went to a commercial or whatever. But it was that was pretty much how it was.
It's wonderful to see this behind the scenes of Dad, and how wonderful. Were you scared?
No, actually, the thing of it is, it was so quiet in the studio. It was like it wasn't even really happening. It was kind of funny. No, I was not scared at all. It was great. I thought it was wonderful.
Oh.
Another thing too, I asked my dad, because I was fascinated by television. I wanted to find out how TV was made. So I said, shoot the cameras, shoot the lights and so forth. Here's Ted Myers doing the red light, green light contest. Yeah. He just came in just for that segment. Then he left right afterwards. Never got a chance to meet him. But I was determined to drink my milk, all my milk. And after I was done, Engineer Bill said, well, it looks like we got a gulper on our hands here, and I started to laugh. I said, gulper, I'm here to win, But anyway, so it was fun. We had a great time.
Oh, it looks like it was a lot of fun.
Now, there was a third boy. There was a third boy on the side of the set there. What was that role?
Yeah, well, you can invite your best friend. I had no best friends. This is a neighbor kid, but yeah, you can invite your friend, and then he, grabbed the mail bag and did some stuff, whatever, kind of a. But we all got prizes at the end. And also Bill had, I think there was the TV audience. There were those who got prizes who were in the TV audience, in addition to those who were there at the set. So and the kids in the second chair kids, they got prizes. I got a prize.
And Katheryn, when you got the prizes, that was called Name It and Claim It, I think?
Name it and you can have it.
Oh, name it and you can have it.
Yeah, name it, you can have it.
And now stand by for Name It and You Can Have It. Are you ready, Susan? Ready, Brad? Here we go. Name it, you can have it. Look.
Moscow potato chips.
Bluebird potato chips and I just talked about it, Barbara.
Barbara and
Honey. V, Brad, that's right, all right. And
Chucky.
no, this isn't Chunky. This is Mystic Tape. Here's the Chunky right here. See,
Yeah.
the Chunky's much bigger than the Mystic Tape. It's a full half-pound family size. And name this and you can have it. Bit of honey. Every kid knows that. And name this and you can have it. And you better...
Engineer Bill.
Oh, I was afraid you were going to say Frank Sinatra, and I would have been real disappointed. That's right. And the spud gun. And here comes a Jack Built Things to Do book. Things to Do color and recolor book. And name it.
Oscar Mayer all meat wieners.
This is wonderful.
Oh, there it is, the Engineer Bill.
And then I still have that Engineer Bill. I still have that hat.
Oh, great.
I have it right here. Here it is right here with the Cartoon Express logo.
Oh, sure.
And it's the hat is this is a Sanforized. So that's probably why it's held up so well.
Oh, that's great.
So.
And I still have one as well. It doesn't fit anymore. It's a little bit small. The old
Well, the
noggin,
elastic still, the elastic is still there. It still works. So.
right?
It's just your head's got too big, huh?
Yeah.
And Katheryn, I don't know if you know this, but my mother actually talked your father into giving me something that I wanted so badly. I think your father was the first person in LA to broadcast Gumby cartoons. And he got me the original Gumbies.
You have a Gumby.
I've had this forever, and he's just wonderful. I wouldn't give him up for the world.
No. Oh, how wonderful.
Here we go now with a great big all aboard for Gumby. Are you ready? All aboard!
That's great.
Now, Daniel, you mentioned in the video that you didn't get any makeup, but Katheryn and I remember a big barber's chair. I remember getting makeup when I was on the show.
Oh, really? No, they didn't bother with us. They figured, blemishes and all, there we were. They didn't bother with us, which was kind of interesting. But Bill, as you said, Bill spent time with us showing us how the game worked and so forth. But beyond that, they were pretty much busy with other aspects of the set.
Well, certainly there's a lot going on. And my dad's producer was a wonderful producer director, a man named J.C. Lewis. And I used to sit in the control room while Dad was doing the show with JC. And I got to tell you, I learned some very, very colorful language in the control room while JC was directing the program. And oh my goodness gracious. And I used to come home at night and say, Dad, what does mean and mean? And he would say, oh, JC's been at it again, huh? And I said, yeah. But no, he would say, because he's got these cameramen he's dealing with. He's got dad looking in one direction and who knows what. But I remember him just saying, would someone cue Stulla? For Pete's sake, cue him. He's got egg on his face, you know. So it's not easy being a director.
Now, Craig, you have personally spent tens of thousands, if not more, of dollars on your own personal train layouts. I don't know if you know this, but originally Bill wanted Lionel to become a sponsor and provide the train layout for the television program. And he contacted them, and Bill tells the story real well. I'll let him do so right now.
This was in November, about November 1st or 2nd. I called up Lionel in Chicago, headquarters, asked for the advertising manager, and they got him on the line for me. I said, I'm Bill Stulla, I'm with KHJ in Los Angeles, and I'm starting a railroad show, and I need a train layout. And he said, Mr. Stulla, he said, I can't talk to you now. He said, this is the height of our season. He says, call me in January or February. So I said, call you in January or February. He said, yeah, then we can talk. So I hung up, and I told him that I couldn't get a layout from Lionel. So we put together a train layout. That's what I started with.
So, Bill, when Lionel turned you down or put you off for a while, how'd you end up with American Flyer?
You won't believe this. The show was on the air 2 weeks, and I got a call from a man. He said, my name's Ray Losi. He said, I want to tell you, I think your show is real cute. Is there anything I can do for you? I said, no, who are you? He said, I'm with American Flyer. So I said, come in. And I told him when to come in. Ray Losi watched the show and he liked it. He was the salesman for American Flyer in this area. And Lionel wouldn't have anything to do with me. They didn't have time. American Flyer came through immediately. I said, I need a train layout. He said, how big? I said, I'd like 3-level train layout. And I said, I'd like it to be, I measured out the size, sort of about 8 feet long and 4 feet wide. He said, can I have 2 weeks? I said, oh yeah, sure. So he went to a man that sold American Flyer stuff in his store. He was also not only a store owner, but a man who could build things. And he started to build that layout, and in 2 weeks he had it delivered to the station. Wow. And he got 12 years of free advertising, for American Flyer.
American Flyer train sales jumped $1 million simply by being on the Engineer Bill program. And this was 1955, you said?
Yeah.
And they were so appreciative, they gave your father a Volkswagen station wagon and had it painted up and mimicked a Union Pacific diesel engine. Isn't that correct?
I'm not sure if they gave it to him or not, because I do remember the microbus as a kid. We drove around on the microbus before it was converted, but they certainly did the conversion of the microbus into a locomotive, and Dad used to take that to market appearances. We used to drive around the Southland in it, and people would honk and wave at us and things.
It was wonderful. I don't know if it was street legal by today's standards, because it only had one headlight on the front of it to look like a train diesel. Now, do you guys remember the big whistle?
Yeah.
Oh, I do. Yeah, sure.
And where'd that idea come from, Katheryn?
Dad wanted a game that he could take to his public appearances, his market appearances on Saturday. And that was one way he could get the kids involved.
Well, he did something that no other children's host has ever done that I've witnessed. And that is, if you showed up at a supermarket or an opening of a store that Bill Stella was visiting on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, he made sure he spoke to every single child that showed up to meet him. And he not only shook their hand, he looked at you and he talked to you and he wanted to know if you were okay. And that really touched the kid's heart.
Well, you know, when he first started doing appearances, I mean, this was new. He didn't quite know what to do. And apparently the first appearance was almost a riot because it wasn't very well organized. So he then eventually, he said, just like the Army, I had him line up in lines and I would go through the lines and, you know, shake every little kid's hand or give them a prize or whatever it was. But the first time he said, oh my goodness, I had all these children running around and I didn't know how to get them in order.
Even though it's a rainy Monday night, it'll be sunshiny on Saturday, and I want to talk to you about where I'm going to be. On Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, I'll be visiting with you at Bond's Market at 973 South Glendora in West Covina. That's Saturday, February 6th at 10 o'clock. And when you go to Bond's this week, be sure to look for this beautiful Stelber bicycle that is on display there, because it's going to be awarded during my appearance at Bond's. And this Stelber bike is one that any boy or girl would be proud to own, a real beauty. And then at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll see you at Jay's Market at 4301 Santa Barbara Street in Los Angeles. That's at 1 o'clock. And when I come visiting, the Big Whistle is going to come along with me, and we're going to play it for some wonderful prizes. For one of you, there's going to be an American Flyer Frontiersman electric train set, complete with track and transformer, exactly like Little Mo the Bad Habit Buster. And from Whammo, makers of the Fun Farm and the Draw Yarn kits, there'll be a Whammo home bowling set for the whole family to enjoy. From Voight, makers of fine athletic equipment, this Voight basketball and goal kit, and we'll have some moving tank target games. We're going to bring along some snap trains and snap plane airport sets, and also some Cosman spud guns. And for everybody, there's going to be a taste of that wonderful, wonderful chunky chocolate. Delicious milk chocolate with Brazil nuts and cashew nuts and raisins. Chunky chocolates. So, come along, will you? And now let's get back to Gumby, huh? All aboard? Come on. All aboard! Oh, Susan, you're a big help.
You're in television, so what's one of the ultimate awards you can receive in television?
Well, I'm sure the Emmys.
That's right. Katheryn, he has more than one, doesn't he?
He does. He has 2 Emmys for the best in children's programming, 1959 and 1960.
And another great compliment is the Engineer Bill Cartoon Express program spawned many other lookalikes. In San Diego, they had Engineer Jhani. And let's see, in Salt Lake City, they had the Fun Time Express. But there was nothing. Engineer Bill was the ultimate example of how to do this program and execute it. And I'm sorry that more and more people didn't see it.
Yeah, it's a shame that more and more people didn't know about Dad. And somebody asked him at one time whether or not he wished it had gone national. And he didn't. For some reason, he was just very happy to have had his niche in the LA area. And that actually surprised me. I thought he would have said, yeah, it would have been nice. But no, he was very happy with the group that he met and the group that he entertained for.
Now, Craig and Daniel, it would be very hard for us to give up our trains, our personal train set. But Bill was such a humanitarian. He gave up not one, but 2 of the layouts that were seen on television. He loved helping Children's Hospital, didn't he? And the City of Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Wow, that's very nice, yeah.
And one of them, yeah, Katheryn, if I'm not mistaken, was on display. I think it was City of Hope, but I could be wrong. Until the 1980s, it was bringing joy to children.
I believe that it was. Actually, I have a picture of Dad, of him giving the train to the City of Hope. You know the story about how he rented a train to go down to Duarte to deliver this model train to the City of Hope?
The Christmas Express, wasn't it?
It was. It was the Christmas Express.
Share that story with everyone.
Well, he took it upon himself to rent a train and to take a whole bunch of kids and their parents to the City of Hope. And the tickets, I think, were maybe $5 for the parents, $2.50 for the kids. And the train left from Union Station and just stopped where the train used to stop on its way to Duarte. And I have to tell you, my mother and dad were so concerned the night before. What if nobody comes?
Oh.
What if nobody shows up for this? Dad says, I'm on the hook for this train. We want to get this train set down. Well, he needn't to have worried, because lots of people got on at Union Station. And then as the train made its way down to Duarte, lots more people got on it. So many, in fact, that they had to put an extra car on the train. Mm-hmm. So it's a lovely story. And yeah, God bless my dad. He did so many wonderful things. He was a very compassionate man, a lot of empathy, and he wanted the world to be as good a place as he could make it.
Because your father could communicate so well across the lens and get through that glass and out of that TV set into people's homes, they had him deliver the news to children that John F. Kennedy, our president of the United States, had been assassinated, didn't they?
Yes. And I remember how tragic that all was, and how my dad had to sort of explain to the kids what had happened in a way that, wouldn't scare them, but at the same time would let them know that something very tragic had happened.
Because I think the general manager wanted him to go on at the last second to explain why Cartoon Express wasn't being seen that evening, because this tragedy had happened.
Aha.
I believe he came up with that off the cuff, and it was so sincere, and I saw it live, and it meant he did a wonderful job with that.
My dad was very, very good. He could ad lib very well. And I think his radio days, when, everything was just very precise. I mean, you had 15 seconds, you had 10 seconds, you had 5, you were out. And he knew how he used to joke. He said, you know what? They tell me I've got however many, they've got a minute. I can go out, go to the bathroom, get back, and just have enough time to put everything, in where I'm supposed to be back on mic. Because he knew his timing very well.
Yeah, Craig and Daniel can attest to that. I'm sure we all learned how we can handle things in 60 seconds being in radio.
True.
Now, during one of your father's appearances, he came out. This is where I first got to shake his hand, and it was just amazing. It was an event that happened every year in Hemet, California. It was called the Farmers Fair. And your father apparently drove out to Riverside, and then he got on a Santa Fe diesel. And the trains never came through Hemet, but we had train tracks. And he actually was in the engineer's position on the train, pulled it up right next to the fairgrounds, got out. There were so many kids waiting for him. And I remember some of them would take a handkerchief, because it was hot, and put their ear on the rail to hear if the train was coming soon.
Oh, wow.
I mean, everyone was excited to see him, and it was very difficult to get near him. But again, he made sure that he saw everyone and spoke to everyone who wanted to see him. After Engineer Bill, your father went on to the world of money.
Yeah, this is the most interesting thing. And so our careers kind of flip-flopped. Dad, after doing Engineer Bill, and it was over in 1966, he became a financial advisor, a stockbroker, and was in the stock brokerage business, at least 10 years. And he made a pledge to himself that he would not use his fame as Engineer Bill to help him get clients. He just felt ethically that was not right to do.
I'd like to ask each one of you, Craig, what did Bill Stella as Engineer Bill mean to you?
Oh, it's so many different things. I mean, just watching the show taught you ethics, how to treat your fellow friends, how to be a good person. The red light, green light thing was just so important to me. And we did it in our house constantly every single day. And it just taught you so many things. It was just a pleasure to watch. And there wasn't anything else on TV like it, where you could see your favorite thing, trains, and then watch Engineer Bill communicate with other children your same age. It was just wonderful. It's great to be on this call, because it's brought back so many great memories for me. So thank you for having me on. I was just a huge fan of Engineer Bill, and I still am.
You underscored that he believed in morality and telling the truth, and that those two things combined would make life fun. And he certainly brought that to us. Daniel, how about you? What did Engineer Bill Stella mean to you?
Well, he was just such a warm and very wonderful, reassuring presence. I mean, his personality really came through on that show. And having met him when I was doing the show that one time, that was genuine. That was him. What you saw was the way he was. And it increased my appreciation for the show later, because it's like, yeah, that's exactly the way he was when he was talking to me. So I always appreciated that about Engineer Bill, about Bill Stella.
Well, for myself, he was a father figure in a kid's life that needed one at the time. And that meant so much to me that I could never, ever pay enough respect toward him. Katheryn, how do you think your father would like to best be remembered?
Oh, I think that he did the very, very best he could with every opportunity that came along for him, and that he had integrity, which he did. What you saw on TV was exactly who he was in person. That's exactly who he was. And there was no turning the switch on and off. That he made the world a little better place to live in, I think, is what he'd like to be remembered for. And I know he is remembered for that.
There were two people who worked at KHJ along with your father. One was Wayne Thomas, known as Freight Train.
Yeah, try to say that fast once. Wait, I can't say it.
And the other was Ted Myers.
Yes.
So tell us about them as well.
I know more about Ted than I do about Wayne Thomas. I know Wayne doing, red light, green light many, many times, and he loved to trick Dad and get him. And if I'm not mistaken, he was the one who filled in for Dad on occasion when Dad went on vacation.
All right, here we go, Freight Twain. We are ready to play. Boys and girls, wherever you are, think. Let's beat him tonight. Did I get the sign Friday?
I forget.
Was I here Friday?
Friday.
Yes,
I was here.
I didn't get the sign.
Green light. Be ready. Red light. How are we doing down there? Red light. Up.
Up.
Green light. We're going to catch you that green light. Red light. Green light. Red light. Oop. Hey, we're one sip behind there.
Man.
Hey, Welliker.
No, I'm all right yet.
Are you? Well,
yeah.
Well, a delayed action there. Take a slow switch at the crossing. Green light. Green light. Red light. Whoop. I don't know about tonight. Monday night's usually my lucky night. Red light. Whoop. Green light. Red light. Red light. Green light. Green light. Red light. Red light. Green light. Oh! Well,
I've been sick.
A little bit sicker tonight.
Green eyes.
Green light. Ready. Red light.
Okay, you did it.
Well,
I admit it.
Go.
I couldn't deny that one. The real bell for Corky Kemp. The real bell for Susan Ivers. The real bell for all of the engineers who played a good game. And the real bell for Freight Twain Wayne, too. And the lead bell for me and those who missed. Pow. You notice I don't spare myself on that lead bell. I just bang it as loud for me as I do for you.
Ted Myers was a very close friend of Mom and Dad's, and his wife was an OBGYN and Dr. Presley. And so they go back with my parents many, many years. So I knew them. I didn't know Wayne Thomas very well, other than just as a little kid. Do you want to hear about the time that I was on the show unexpectedly, and Mother and Dad was not very happy about that? He was saying, "Happy highball, engineers," one night, and I popped up I had been hiding under the train table or the layout, and I went, "Happy highball, engineers." He was not a happy man.
Unscripted.
Oh, Lord.
Too bad there's not a kinescope of that. So we
yeah,
can enjoy
too bad
it.
there isn't a, yes. But I was just sitting under there minding my business, watching the cameras move around. And then I said, well, why not? So
I was just going to say, you notice that in the footage that the script was hanging down from the lens of the camera. So you'll notice the camera turns and you'll see the whole script down to the floor, you know.
oh, interesting. Oh my gosh. So that took the place of cue cards. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. There were no cue card holders in the show. You know?
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
At the very end, they used title cards, which were supered over the black and white. And you'll see one of the stage guys, you know, shove a title card in front of the camera. And I didn't know that's how they did it. But that's the kind of stuff I wanted to know about, you know.
Sure. Well, that's the intriguing part. You know, how do they make this happen?
Right, exactly.
Katheryn brought up that the commercials were done live. I know that sometimes Oscar Mayer was a sponsor for the show, and Little Oscar, who was one of the Munchkins from The Wizard of Oz, he would go between different television stations and do the commercials live. And sometimes he would be on the program with your father, right?
Yep, he would. And on the one kinescope that we do have of Dad is, you know, he's doing Jiffy Pop and all of that. And God love him. He sounds now to me like all he did was push product, you know, as I look at his old show.
Engineers, here is an exciting trick that you can do with the help of a little magic. First of all, imagine a nice fresh slice of your favorite pie. Now imagine how much better it would be if you could carry it anywhere. Hold it and eat it like a candy bar. Presto, we've done it with new Hostess Handy Pie, shaped like a candy bar, apple pie filling and leak-proof crust. The greatest pie invention ever. And talk about good. Take a look at that golden brown handy pie crust, and inside luscious apple pie filling, made from plump, juicy apples spiced with cinnamon and nutmeg. Ask Mother to pick up new Hostess Handy Pies at your grocer's. And right now, let's all get together and sing the Hostess Handy Pie jingle.
Handy pie, it's a brand new kind of pie. Shaped like a candy bar, eaten like a candy bar. Apple pie filling in a leak-proof crust. When you eat a handy pie, there's never any must.
Never any must, and does it taste good?
But he also said to me in his early radio career, he learned very, very early on from a gentleman named A.G. Nelson. I think this was in Denver, that without commercials, you have nothing. And so commercials were very, very important. You had to have them. That's what kept the show on. And also, I can remember as a little kid, I mean, he was my dad. He was Engineer Bill to everybody else, but he was my father. And so sometimes we'd go out to dinner and people would come over and shyly ask for an autograph. And Dad would be unfailingly gracious all the time. And I was like, can't we even go anywhere that nobody recognizes you, Daddy? You know, that kind of thing. But he explained to me how important all that was.
Daniel, wouldn't you agree we could use a little Engineer Bill these days?
Absolutely. I mean, you don't see shows like that as far as like as was mentioned with the principles and the good training and so forth. That's just gone out the window. Now it's, you know, it's all crudity, you know.
Katheryn, your father did so much every day of the week, from doing a broadcast or two every single weekday, and then going out and doing personal appearances on the weekends. I'm told that he also had a sewing machine shop.
Yes. When we lived in Burbank until I was 7 years old, my dad opened an Adler sewing machine store on Magnolia Boulevard. And he didn't run it. There was someone there who ran the store. I think he was doing it as an investment. And so Engineer Bill was going to make an appearance at the Adler sewing machine store on Magnolia Boulevard. And I thought, oh my gosh, I haven't thought of that in years. But yes, he did have a sewing machine store. I don't know how long he had it, but I do remember it. And do you remember Beanie's hobby shop?
Yes.
Beanie Dixon and her husband Ed are the ones who built the train layout for the American Flyer train on Engineer Bill. And they were good friends. And yes, very, very good friends.
Well, Craig, you and I certainly enjoyed seeing that train on camera all the time, didn't we?
Oh boy, was that a thrill or what? I didn't know it was an American Flyer because I wasn't aware at that age, but boy, what a great looking train and what a great looking train layout. And every boy who watched Engineer Bill, wanted one of those train layouts just like he has it. Fortunately, we have those now, don't we?
Right. And Daniel, I don't know if you realize there, once in a while they would put Gumby on the train. He'd be riding through
Yes.
the rails as well.
He'd be on a flat car going by.
That's right. So Craig, if there was an Engineer Bill program on today, do you think you'd watch it as an adult?
Oh, I definitely would. We were talking earlier about how unfortunate it is there isn't anything like that on TV now. It's unfortunate that those days are gone, but as we know in the entertainment business, everything is cyclical. And in life, a lot of things are cyclical too. So I'm crossing my fingers that someday something like Engineer Bill will come back and kids will have the opportunity to see what we did as well.
Well, Daniel, is it possible to have an Engineer Bill these days?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of TV now that is successful is local. I think one of the things that made Engineer Bill and many shows like that so wonderful too, in addition to the personalities, was the fact that they were live. You were playing without a net. I think live TV would do well, like a show like Engineer Bill. Now, the only problem is that people today are so cynical that kind of show, you have to kind of get beyond the cynicism. Like I said, the idea of the principles and the idea of fair play and so forth, things that the things that Bill believed in and showed in the show. You have to kind of get beyond that, with people. I think it's possible. I really do.
Well, let's hope it can one day happen.
There it is, the original uniform.
There
That's
it is.
great. That you've kept it all these years, huh,
He
Bill?
did a panoramic shot. He went down to my feet.
Good. You gotta be sure, yeah.
That's great.
Yes. It's good to be remembered. That's all I can say.
Well, I think it's only befitting that all of us leave this episode of I Remember Radio with the typical Bill Stella sign-off, which is
Happy High Ball
Engineers, right-o.